My girlfriend tried to manipulate me into buying her a beach house by threatening to leave, and I ended up helping. My girlfriend tried to pressure me into buying her a beach house by threatening to leave, so I helped her pack her bags and kicked her out. I'm 34, and I'm still processing everything that's happened over the past few months, but I really need to get this off my chest. My now ex-girlfriend, who's 31, and I had been together for 3 years, living together for the past 2. In the beginning, everything was great. We had similar interests, a lot of chemistry, and genuinely enjoyed each other's company. But, as the saying goes, money changes people, and it really changed her. Last year, I received a significant inheritance from my grandfather. He was a wise investor and left me a sum of money that could set me up for life if I managed it well. At first, I didn't tell many people about it, not even her. I wanted some time to process things and make smart choices. When I finally told her 3 months after receiving it, her entire attitude shifted. At first, it was subtle. She started talking about our future. We started spending more time together, and she began dropping hints about marriage, talking about how we should invest in our relationship. I wasn't against the idea of marriage, but her sudden, intense interest in our future felt off. Then came the beach house conversation. One evening, over dinner, she casually mentioned how her friend's boyfriend had bought them a vacation home. She asked, "Wouldn't it be amazing if we had our own beach house?" and started showing me listings on her phone. The prices were outrageous. We're talking multi-million-dollar properties. I explained that while I had inherited money, I wanted to be smart about it. My plan was to invest most of it, maybe buy a more reasonable primary home, and ensure my financial security for the future. She seemed to understand, or so I thought. But the beach house topic kept coming up. She'd send me listings multiple times a day, talk about how we could rent it out when we weren't using it to make money, and constantly bring up her friend's beach house. As I continued to decline, her behavior became more manipulative. She started giving me the silent treatment and making passive-aggressive comments about how I didn't value our relationship enough to invest in our future. Then, she began threatening to leave if I didn't show my commitment by buying the beach house. She even went as far as to tell her friends and family that I was withholding money from her, painting me as some kind of controlling miser. The final straw came last week when I came home from work. She was sitting in our living room with printed photos of beach houses spread out on the coffee table. She had already contacted real estate agents and scheduled viewings that I expressed my frustration with her going behind my back, and she delivered her ultimatum. "Either you buy us a beach house, or I'm leaving," she said, arms crossed. "I deserve this, and if you really loved me, you'd understand. I've already told my friend about it, and they agree. If you can afford it but won't buy it, you clearly don't care about making me happy." I stood there for a moment, looking at this woman I thought I knew, but who now seemed unrecognizable in her entitlement. 3 years of memories flashed through my mind, but now they were tainted by her recent behavior. The manipulation, the emotional blackmail, and her attempts to shame me into spending millions on a property I didn't want. It all hit me in that moment. "Okay," I said calmly. "If that's how you feel, let me help you pack." The look on her face was priceless. She clearly wasn't expecting this response. Her mouth opened and closed a few times before she found her words. "You can't be serious," she sputtered. "After everything we've been through?" I walked to our bedroom and pulled her suitcases from the closet. "Everything we've been through?" I said. "You mean the 3 years where you pretended to love me for who I am, only to show your true colors the moment you found out about my inheritance?" She followed me, her voice rising. "That's not fair. I've always loved you. I just think we deserve nice things, and you're being selfish." As I started placing her clothes into the suitcase, she tried a different approach. "Baby, please, I'm sorry if I came on too strong. We can talk about this. Maybe we can look at cheaper properties." I kept packing, unmoved by her sudden shift in tactics. "There's nothing to talk about. You made your position clear. It's either a beach house or you're leaving. I'm just helping you follow through with your decision." That's when she revealed just how far she'd gone with her entitled behavior. She pulled out her phone and showed me social media posts she'd already made about our future beach house. She'd even started a wedding planning Pinterest board and told her family we were getting married. "Everyone's expecting this now," she said smugly. "What will people think when they find out you're choosing money over our relationship? Your own family will think you're horrible for leading me on." I stopped packing and looked at her. First, we were never engaged. Second, I don't care what everyone thinks about how I handle my inheritance. And third, my family knows exactly who I am and how I feel about financial responsibility. She tried one last manipulation tactic. She admitted she had already put down a refundable deposit on one of the properties. I used our joint account because I knew you'd come around once you saw how perfect it is, she said. This was news to me, so I immediately pulled out my phone and checked our joint account. Sure enough, there was a $5,000 earnest money deposit made 3 days ago. After learning about the inheritance, I'd started recording our conversations as a precaution. My gut had been telling me something wasn't right, and I'm glad I listened. You recorded me? That's a violation of my privacy, she shrieked. We live in a one-party consent state, I replied. And given what just happened, I'd say I was right to be cautious. She stormed off to make the call to cancel the deposit, cursing under her breath the whole time. I continued packing her things, making sure to separate any items we'd bought together. I could hear her in the other room, alternating between sweet-talking the real estate agent and threatening them with legal action when they explained the deposit return might take a few days. While she was busy with that, I sent quick messages to my family to explain the situation before she could spin her own narrative. I also posted a simple relationship status update on social media. Single. Nothing dramatic, no details, just that one word. Within minutes, her phone started blowing up with notifications. When she came back, she was furious. The deposit will take 3 to 5 business days to return. You need to transfer money into the joint account to cover any upcoming bills. No, I don't, I replied. I've already paid this month's bills. The joint account can be closed once the deposit returns. You have your own account for personal expenses. That's when she played her final card. My name is on the lease too. You can't just kick me out. Actually, I can, I replied. I've already spoken to the landlord. Since I've been paying 100% of the rent from my personal account, not our joint account, he's willing to remove you from the lease. You have 30 days to find a new place, as required by law. But I strongly suggest you start staying with friends or family immediately. She threw everything she could think of at me. Threats of legal action, promises to change, accusations of emotional abuse, claims that I owed her for the years she spent with me. When none of that worked, she switched to bargaining, offering to sign a prenup if we got married, suggesting we look at cheaper properties, and even proposing we just take a break and revisit the beach house discussion in a few months. I stood firm. The deposit needs to be back in the account within 5 business days. You have 30 days. I told her to get her remaining things out of the apartment and that any communication about these matters should go through my lawyer. I handed her my lawyer's business card, another precaution I'd taken after the inheritance came through. She spent the next hour alternating between packing, crying, and trying to negotiate. I stayed calm, focusing on helping her pack the essentials. Every time she tried to argue or manipulate, I redirected her back to the task at hand. Finally, her sister came to pick her up. As they loaded her things into the car, I overheard my ex trying to spin the story, painting herself as the victim. To her sister's credit, she just kept saying, "We'll talk about it at home." The fallout over the next few days was intense. She tried to turn our mutual friends against me by claiming I had promised her marriage and the beach house, only to cruelly pull the rug out from under her. But her story kept changing with each telling, and her previous social media posts about surprising her with a beach house contradicted her claims that I had promised it. The real estate deposit was returned within the promised time frame, and I immediately closed our joint account and documented everything. My lawyer sent her a formal letter outlining the lease situation and property division process, which helped prevent any further financial entanglements. She made several attempts to contact me through mutual friends, each time with a different approach. One day, she was apologetic, claiming she'd had a wake-up call. The next, she was threatening to expose me to potential future partners in our social circle. Her friends started reaching out too, trying to convince me I was being too harsh and should give her another chance. I held firm. Any communication attempts were directed to my lawyer. Within 2 weeks, she found a new place to live and sent her brother to collect the rest of her things while I had a friend present as a witness. Everything was documented and photographed to prevent any future claims of missing items. The most satisfying moment came when she tried telling people that she broke up with me because I was financially controlling. Her own social media history showed her bragging about the upcoming beach house purchase and planning a wedding that was never agreed upon. Several friends called her out on the contradictions, and she ended up deleting most of her social media accounts. In the end, my careful documentation and calm approach paid off. The lease was successfully transferred, all property was divided without legal issues, and the joint account was closed without complications. My ex's attempts to manipulate the narrative failed because she couldn't keep her story straight, and her own social media posts contradicted her various versions of events. It's been a few months now, and I'm relieved I trusted my instincts about documenting everything. The inheritance wasn't just about money. It was a revelation of character. It showed me who truly cared about me and who saw me as a means to an end. I've since invested the money wisely, bought a reasonable house for myself, not a beach house, and I'm focusing on my own goals. Looking back, I realized that the inheritance revealed her true character, and her reaction to my boundaries showed me I made the right choice. Sometimes the greatest gift money can give you isn't what you can buy with it, but what it shows you about the people in your life.